And hi, haven't seen you in a while, Gina. This training will be recorded, and what we are looking at today is a way to differentiate by using what's called question logic, which is actually a feature in Google Forms. They just don't call it that. But we'll be looking at how to use question logic to provide just-in-time differentiation for our learners. So this is a different use of Google Forms that isn't so much about, for example, sending out a formative assessment or even a summative assessment via Google Forms and having Google Forms grade all or part of it, and then recording a score. This is actually something you would do that is going to provide lesson content and or practice to learners, and then for each learner, be able to guide them to their next logical step based on how they are doing and how they demonstrate they're doing by answering questions in Google Forms. So for those of you who've joined us since I last did it, this link that I've just put in the chat is to the slide deck that I will be using for this session. Again, this session is being recorded. What we are focusing on today is using question logic to provide just-in-time differentiation for our learners. And if you have the slide deck open, you can go ahead and save it to your Google Drive. But if you don't manage to do so, this slide deck will be in the hub either later tonight or tomorrow. And also this recording that I'm making will be in the hub. Both things are located on the technology training and support page. And I've tried to set it up to where you could almost like stumble in the hub and just land on what you need. So as you'll see at the end of this slide deck on the resources page, there will be a link to this recording once it is processed. If you instead are watching the video from the hub, if you click on the description for any of the videos in the hub, it should give you a link to the support document. So all the videos include a link to the support document, and all the support documents include a link to the video. So let's go ahead and get started with our agenda for today. We're going to start with understanding what question logic is. And once you hear it, you'll realize you've known what it is all along. So it's not actually something you're not familiar with. You just might not have tried yet to do it in Google Forms. Then we'll look at how question logic can help us plan for differentiation in order to best meet the needs of each of our learners. And then we'll learn how we can do that by doing it in Google Forms specifically. And then actually, I actually don't think there's really not very much to say on that regard. And I think you'll actually have time to experiment with it a little bit. So I've planned for work time for you to just open up a blank Google form and try seeing if you can build, some question logic in, and then come back to the Zoom room and let us know how it went and what was successful for you and what challenges you ran into. And so we'll take your questions and successes, and then I'll provide some resources as well. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So question logic is basically a feature in almost any program that allows a user to design a form. It will direct the person responding to the questions in the form to a next question or topic or image or video. And what question they receive next is based on how they responded to the previous question. So sometimes in a form that you might have received via email or something, you'll get a question that says, which grade band do you teach? K5, 6, 8, 9, 12, adults, and so on, right? And based on whether if you answer K5, the next question you see might be different than if you actually answered 9, 12. Okay. So that's essentially what question logic is. Does that make sense? So far, do you kind of understand what I'm saying about what it is? It takes your answers and sends you to a next question based on how you answered the previous question. Okay. So we can use that feature to plan for differentiation, because one of our goals as educators is actually to try to plan for differentiation from the beginning rather than trying to differentiate after the fact once we see there's already been a problem that now we have to try to correct first of all, and correct in a way that differentiates for the different kinds of problems that students have. If we can differentiate from the beginning so that all the learners' needs are met, then it's going to be more successful for everybody and more efficient. So do you already have any ideas? And you can feel free to jump on the microphone or use the chat for how a tool like, or how a feature like this question logic could help us plan for differentiation. Or like, do you have any initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, like, so if a child gets something wrong, then you could like take them to like a little YouTube video that teaches them how to do it.
Yeah.
I know for English, I've heard teachers are using it to like do a create your own adventure type of storyline.
Oh, that's a great idea. I didn't even focus on that in this presentation, but yes, you could totally use the question logic feature to do that. You can also do that, by the way, by setting up a Google Slides deck with links. And so as they, on one slide, it'll say, what do you think happens next? If you think this happens next, click here. And if you think this happens next, click here. And depending on which one they click on, it'll take them to a different slide in the slide deck to continue that story. So both tools, you could do that, create your own adventure, so that they actually are kind of guiding themselves through the content on a path of their choosing. You could totally do with Google Forms. And I hadn't even thought of that. So we won't see an example of that today, but the process we will see could definitely be used for that.
I could see it kind of helpful to use it when, for example, we're learning like a grammar concept, and maybe there was a grammar concept that, you know, you need, I'm just thinking Spanish wise, oh, you're learning something, and then, oh, you're not getting the reflexives right for this specific concept. So then it'll take you back to a lesson where you learn the reflexives, and then you can go back and continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so it can be provided to give them, you know, exactly what they need in order to, if there was an issue, we can use Google Forms to help us identify the issue and give the students what they need based on that identified issue. So
I was just thinking about how last week you were talking about really planning and logical detractors on multiple choice questions, where it gives us, this could give us a chance to right away immediate feedback with, I see where you were thinking that, and this is why that answer is incorrect, and this is how you get back to the right answer.
That makes me so happy, because I was going to say that, but I wanted to make sure nobody else had anything to say. So perfect, right? So that it helps us plan specifically for, in each distractor that we have in our questions, each one of those is based on a certain aspect of how, if the distractors, remember, are the wrong answers. So each one is a type of mistake or conceptual misunderstanding that the learner has, or gap in knowledge that they have. And because of that, we know that each one stems from a different problem. And with question logic, we can actually send students to a different support resource for each one of the wrong answers if it would be appropriate to do so. Oops. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can get this to continue for you. There we go. Oops. Okay. Here we go. So the way you start, and we will see a sample in a little bit, is by adding a section. And the sections are a feature that maybe people have ignored. You might have used it before. And once you know how to do this, you can use it for a number of things. So as one of you mentioned, you could use it for choose your own adventure. As you could also use it in forms where you're gathering information and you need to kind of separate out the respondents based on an earlier question. You want to direct them to specific things. So you will be able to use this same process in order to send people to specific types of questions based on a preliminary sorting question that helps you break people into groups, so that all the questions they receive pertain to them. So the way you do that is in Google Forms, as you know, when you click the plus, you get another question. You can import questions, you can add text, you can add images, you can add videos. The bottom one is how you add a section. And as you add sections, it will tell you how many sections you have And your blue bar on the left in Google Forms is always your marker of where you are at when you are editing a form and adding questions and content. The default when you add a section is that after that section, no matter how they respond, they just continue to the next section. Now, this section doesn't even have any questions in it. It's just kind of an introductory section. So they would just hit next after reading it because there's no questions to answer. And then what you're going to do is, first of all, you need to know that this only works with multiple choice questions and drop down questions, which are essentially also multiple choice. It does not work if you have a question that's a grid, and it does not work with a question that's a scale type of answer. So and of course it doesn't work with short answer or paragraph answer. It only works with multiple choice and drop down. But if that's the type of question you have, at the bottom right corner of the question itself, when you are editing it, and remember the question you're editing will have a blue bar on the left. If you have that in place, and in the lower right corner next to where it says required, there were 3 dots. They got covered up because I clicked on them. But when you click on the 3 dots, it will give you 3 options. Add a description, go to section based on answer, or shuffle the option order. And that middle one is your magic button. That's the one you want to click. And what that will do is, instead of saying that after they answer this question, everybody goes to the next section, it will change this, because we're going to say that if they answered celery or turkey or potatoes or muffin, they go in one place, or maybe different places for each of those. And if they answered raspberry, they're going to this other place next. And we can direct all incorrect answers to the same next step, or we can be even more precise and direct people to a different section with a different next step for each answer, because as you can see, in each case, I have the option to choose exactly where the person will continue to next. In this case, I directed everybody to the same next place, but I don't have to do that. So as you can see, these first 3, if they answer, they're all going to go to the section called Learning About Fruits. But this person knows, and I mean, this is a silly one question. I probably wouldn't do it based on that, but right. But this one's going to go into sorting the 5 food groups, because they were clear on that, and we can go broader and have them start looking at the groups and how they connect and interrelate and so on. And then this muffin one also is not a correct answer, so they would also go to the section called Learning About Fruits. But I get to make those choices as long as my sections exist. So one of the keys is, sometimes the first time you do this, you almost have to map it out on paper if it's hard to conceptualize in your head. Like, for this question, what are the answer choices? What does each answer choice tell me about what the students need? And do I have a resource I can direct them to as a result? Including, as you'll see in the demo, what to do when students get it right. Right? So we're going to do a demo, and we'll have to do it a couple of times, because in order to do it live, I can't show you everything all at once the way I'd like to, but I just wanted you to see what it looked like. So I'm going to hit preview. Okay, I'm going to hit next. This is going to bring me to my first question. How easy is it for you to sort food into food groups? I can answer it however I want. You don't have to have a question like that. I was just adding around. Which item is a fruit? So I'm going to get the answer correct first. I'm going to hit next. Because I hit raspberry, it's going to take me now to the next piece of content that I've arranged for my learners who are ready to move on. They're ready to look at a video on the food groups. And if I play the video, and they actually have some follow-up questions. Now notice that, first of all, in this case, I didn't go any further than this. I could keep going. I could have a question here, have another section for them to go to based on how they answer. Like, you could just keep, if you imagine a flow chart or a tree diagram, you could just keep branching this out. I made a very simple demo. I also apparently made a question that I never finished. So there's a blank question in there. And remember again that these grid questions unfortunately cannot be used to do this kind of question logic activity. So if you wanted to ask questions like this in order to gauge where they should go next, you would have to break each one out as its own multiple choice question. The good news is you can save a little time by using the copy question feature or duplicate the question so that these choices at the top stay the same, and all you have to do is change the word over here if you have a question like that. But just remember that a grid will not allow you to make a distinction as to where the user goes there. So let's just remember that when I clicked raspberry, which was the correct answer, you don't even have to tell them it's the correct answer. This was left over from like an old demo form, and so I had it set up as a quiz. You don't have to set it up as a quiz. You don't have to let them know if it's right or wrong. You just send them to the next thing that they need to see. So this person is going straight to this little mini lesson on the 5 food groups, which, by the way, that video is okay, but she talks really, really, really fast. And then let's do this again, but let's answer the question incorrectly. So this time I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to make a wrong answer. I'm going to hit next. Okay. And, oh, that's right, I didn't finish it, shoot. And it's gonna take me to a section called Learning About Fruits, where we're going to do some additional work to help the learners know which kinds of things are fruits. And I would recommend, and I had not finished this one, but what I would recommend is if I was editing this form, which I'm gonna do right now, leave. I'm gonna go into my questions, and at least as the form editor, what's nice is I can see all of them, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this right now and delete this one. Get rid of that. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the section called Learning About Fruits. Make sure the blue bar is on the left so that the next time I hit add question, I'm going to add a question here, and actually I'm going to leave that question blank. I'm going to grab a video again, but you don't have to. You could link to something you created or a lesson resource, or you could put a reading in here. You could put an image, because you can just do an image and then ask questions about that and so on. But let's go ahead and do add video. I'm going to search, and we're just going to pretend it's a good video, right? What is a fruit? Okay, so I'm going to look for a video. Oh, is it a fruit or a vegetable? Well, fruits, more information. How long is that? 5 minutes. Let's have a 3 minutes. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and do one of the fruits and vegetables one. I'm going to pick this nice short one right here. We're going to pretend I've watched it and it's exactly what my learner needs. Obviously it's not, because it's going into some fruits and vegetables. And I'm going to move that up here above the question. What's the difference between fruits and vegetables? Fruits and vegetables. Watch the video. Okay. So they're going to have the video, and then I can put some questions in here. So I'm just going to, here is my question. And what's interesting is at this point, what I could do is I could choose to have several questions. Let's do like a multiple choice grid, right? And we'll have 2 columns, fruit and vegetable, right? Based on the video. Please indicate whether the items below are fruits or vegetables. Now remember, I'm not going to be able to sort further based on that, right? Okay, so I'm going to do row 1, and we're going to do celery. Oh, that's in French. And we're going to do carrots, and we're going, hello, welcome. I will put the support document in the chat for you in just a second. Apples and cherries and strawberries. And again, it doesn't, well, I can indicate if they're right or wrong as long as I set this up as a quiz. I don't have to. I'm going to make sure I require a response in each row. I have my 2 columns in which they're going to sort, but I won't be able to differentiate from this. I won't be able to decide what next step they should have, but I like having potentially more than one question. So I'm going to give them a practice opportunity here. And remember, if I do the answer key, then I can actually, so vegetable, carrots, apples, cherries, strawberries, and I can add points or not, and I can say done. Oops, let's go back to the answer key. That was silly. If they get things wrong at this point, I can use, oh, that's right, this one doesn't give feedback, so done. And then I have some information here about if it's right or wrong, because one of the unfortunate things about multiple choice grid is it also doesn't let me add answer feedback. That would be good feedback to give back to the people in Google Forms by clicking on the question mark and saying we'd like to be able to differentiate with question logic in a multiple choice grid. And we'd like to be able to offer answer feedback for their answers in the multiple choice grid, because it's a shame that we can't. Now I'm going to add another question. Okay. Look at the picture below. Picture below. Are the items fruits or vegetables? This is a silly question too. I'm sorry I'm not coming up with really awesome questions. And so I'm going to put fruits. Okay. And I'm going to put vegetables. Okay. And I'm going to add an image. And I'm going to search for my image. I'm going to search for fruits. I'm sure there's a better topic than this. There are a better question or thing we could do this on, but we're just going to go ahead and run with this. All right, so fruits. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make it required, of course. We're going to go in here and we have the go to section based on answer. So you can do the answer key or not. This is only set up this way because I was borrowing a form that was originally used to demonstrate how to do the quiz feature in Google Forms. But you can do it. So you could go ahead and mark what the right answer is here just for the purposes of having it, you know, in your section. Just remember that the point values, welcome. I haven't put the document in there yet. Hold on. Oh, thank you.
I did it for you.
Thank you so much. Someone else just joined too. So I would love it if you could paste it one more time for me. Thank you. So do remember that if you do this, if this is intended to be formative, this is one time where putting points in might backfire on you. You can still put the answer key in, right? But you can put the answer key in with everything 0 points. And the reason I say that is people are going to different parts of the form and they aren't going to have the same number of questions. So what are you going to do with those points afterwards? And if we're doing points on something that is practice or formative, when is it safe for the learners to make a mistake? We can still offer them feedback and support them with their practice without necessarily giving points for everything. So just as a thought, you might want to consider putting in an answer key if you want to do that, just so that they get feedback back on how they did. Okay, so we're going to say fruits, but making it 0 points so that they still get some feedback if you want them to, but they don't necessarily have, like, some of the class had 15 points available and other people only had 10 points. What do I do with that? Okay, and then click here and it says go to section based on answer. So ideally, and I don't have this in place, but ideally what I might do is add, hold on a second, let me add another section. Fruits option 2, right? Like I said, or I might call it something different, continued, or, you know, yeah, fruits continued, if it turns out someone was wrong, right? Someone got it wrong. So let me just put that section in place. That way we can see what we might do here. So if they still got it wrong or had trouble, we're going to go to section based on answer, right? And now you can see here, just like I showed you in the screenshot, I have 2 options. So they got it right. Guess what? Let's now send them to the food groups one, right? Let's sort them to the, I think that's the one, learning about fruits, section 2. Yeah, so sorting to the 5 food groups. They got it right. They're ready to move on to the next thing. This group still needs a little more help. So let's put them into fruits continued. Okay. And then we can eventually get them back around to getting to the point where everybody gets to the point where they get to this lesson. So when they submit here, after section 3, what we can say instead is submit the form. So that when they're done with section 3, this group is the group who didn't need additional help, or they're the group who at the point, by the time they get to this section, they're ready for it. They've completed this section and they're done with this lesson. So some students are going to get there immediately. Some students are going to do these first 2 questions, get it right, go straight to the sorting of the groups. go straight to the sorting activity where they learn about more groups and start to broaden their understanding of the 5 food groups and what kinds of things are in each of the 5 food groups. Other students are going to start here. They're not going to get there first. They're going to have to do this lesson first, and then they will get here and submit the form. And some other students are going to start here, get it incorrect, go to this first lesson, still struggle, go to this next lesson, which hasn't been fully developed yet. And then at this point, so if I put in another question here, just for fun, at this point, we'll just leave it blank, go to section based on answer. Hopefully everybody gets it right. And I'm able to say that, option 1 is the correct answer. And I now want them to go here so that they can finish up their lesson, right? Hopefully we've hit the point where we've done everything that we need to do. So that is how the logistics of how it looks when you're building a form to actually add those sections, and then how to differentiate and send people to another section to get just what they need. Now, what I didn't do here was, for example, have a different section ready for if they chose celery or potatoes, which are both vegetables, maybe I send them to one thing. But turkey's a meat, maybe I send them somewhere else. Maybe the muffin answer goes to a different supplemental resource. That, whether or not you need to do that, really just depends on what your learning targets are, and it depends on the type of question you're asking and the degree to which each distractor or wrong answer can give you specific information about the support that the students will need in order to understand why their answer was wrong and get the answer right next time, if that makes sense. Let me check on the chat. You can have an answer key for all sections, actually, as long as you initially set up the form in your settings as a quiz. And even if you didn't do it initially, at any point you can go to any form and say you'd like to make it a quiz. And once you do that, you have the option to provide an answer key or not for virtually all types of questions, with some exceptions. For example, you cannot provide an answer key for paragraph length responses. You can attempt to provide an answer key for short answer, but I would caution you that it is very difficult to come up with all of the ways a student might type an answer that you would actually have accepted as correct. But still, you can do that. And you can also choose to not necessarily, provide an answer key for some questions. So if there's an opinion question, for example, although this was marked as a quiz, I would not actually score the students based on their answer to this first opinion question, right? This is more data for me so that when I look at how each student dealt with the form, if they said it was super easy and then they got this very first question wrong, I'd want to know like where the gap was, but it's just information for me. I'm not going to grade that or say that their personal opinion on how easy or hard this was wrong. So you have that choice at any time. Mm-hmm. So I just received another question asking if there are other differentiation tools other than forms. In a way, yes, but it comes down to how the teacher uses them. And that's kind of the trick with technology in general. It's not actually the tool that's so magical, it's how we use it. So I can't say that there's something right now. Well, yes, Google Slides. It would be kind of a combination of reflection on the student's part, as well as some organization and design on your part, but you could actually build in things into Google Slides where there are links that go to other slides in the same slide deck, or in theory, it could go to other slide decks altogether or videos or whatever, but where they might answer a question on a Google slide by clicking one link for one answer and a different link on the Google slide for a different answer, and it will take them either to someplace else in the slide deck that you linked that to, or to linked resources on the web based on how they answer. I'd recommend you have it be in the same slide deck. The reason being that if it just links them out of the slide deck, they're going to have to come back in, and they have to remember to come back in and finish the slide deck. Whereas if you link to, if I wanted to, for example, turn this into, let me do this. If I wanted to turn this into a link within the same slide deck, so I do this a lot to make like tables of contents, but it also works for choose your own adventure, and it works for this kind of differentiation. So I choose slides in this presentation, and I'm going to link to what is question logic. So that will now jump straight to that slide. Then how can question logic help me plan? Now, as it turns out, this slide deck actually has remarkably few slides compared to most of my slide decks. So I think it's just the very next slide. Yep, how can it help me plan for differentiation? So as you can see, like in this way, you can set up a link within your slide deck so that you could ask a question and then give them two choices to answer it. One choice linking to one slide and another choice linking to another slide. And based on how they answer it, it will take them to a place in the slide deck for them to get what they need. So a long way to answer your question. That's one other tool that I know of right off the bat where you could do something similar. Again, I'd highly recommend really kind of sketching that out, because you'd want to make sure that somehow when they, let's say they answer it one way and it takes them to a place to help them fill in their gaps in their understanding, make sure on that slide you build in a way for them to link back to the next piece of the lesson now that they're ready for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good idea, Nicole. Thank you.
So, oh, thank you. There's something called noredink.com. Sorry, I had to read it to break up the words. Noredink.com differentiates, but you can't use your own materials. Nice. Okay. So I will look into that as well, because I've heard of it and I actually haven't explored it very much, and I should have, since I've heard of it and I even like the name of it. So now that you've seen that demo in Google Forms, give me just 1 second to get me back where I was here. So we did that demo. We're not going to change the layout. Okay, we're going to present. There we go. All right. Hold on, hold on a second. It's not the last slide. Oh, I accidentally moved the slide. That's why. Whew, when I was clicking around. Okay, let's try that again. So that actually, that's it. That's all there is to it. So I purposefully built work time into this session with the idea that you go try, even in just a for fun Google form. If you haven't used section logic before, especially, I wanted to build in time for you to try it. And looking at the time right now, we are done here at 4:15. So what I would like to do is make sure that everyone is back in by, sorry, we're done at 5:15. Making sure that everyone is back in by, let's say 5:05, if that's long enough, so that we can address any questions or challenges that came up, and so I can share the resources, and we will end on time. Does that work for everybody? You'd have a chance to actually go to your drive, start a new form, play around with it and try it out. And then you can actually come back in so we can see how that went for you and I can address questions. Okay. Let me pause in.
Okay, well, I worked on mine, but I got stuck.
What got you stuck?
You know what? When I'm so I did the title and everything. Then I went to create a question, and I went to a multiple choice grid.
Right.
Okay, so I did that. I had to ask the question. I made rows and then columns, and
right.
Then they have to belong there.
Yeah.
But I am not.
So you might have missed it earlier in our section. In our session, we actually talked about how this only works with multiple choice and drop down and does not work with grid or scale questions.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Unfortunately. So if you have a grid question in your form, you can still have it. It just can't be the question that is used to determine where people go next.
Oh, I see. Because I saw in the video that you were using a multiple choice grid, but that's just more for like.
Yeah. So it might be a good one, for example, for the last segment of the form where everybody ends up when they're ready. You know what I mean? So going to, let's say you were about to do something, like in my case, this was a silly example, but you wanted them ultimately to do a lesson on food groups. And so you started with this thing, just making sure they kind of had a sense of fruit, because you had started there with the lesson last week and you wanted to make sure they were okay. So you had asked a question and the ones who got it right went straight to the lesson on food groups. That's the end, right? That's the final step for everybody. So you can go ahead and put as many questions as you want there, including multiple choice grids, because no matter how long it takes each student to get there, that's the end of the form. And the next step is to just submit the form to you.
Okay, so I just did it
Does that
now.
make sense?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem.
So that brought us right, but it was perfect because I had said, let's do some work time and then come back to questions.
Yeah, so now I think I got it now because I'll just so it only works for multiple choice and drop down.
Because drop down is basically just multiple choice formatted in a different way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
so you can ask opinion questions or do other questions, but the question that determines what the user does next, right? No matter how many questions you have in a section, the question that determines what the user does next needs to be the last question in the section, right? Because otherwise it'll take them somewhere else if they're not done with it. And it needs to either be a multiple choice or a drop down until you get to that last place of the form. If there is one, if there's a culminating piece, like in this case, the idea being you wanted students to get some lesson content, but you wanted to make sure they were ready for it before they tried it. Everybody's going to end then with the new lesson, right? So because they're all going to end with the new lesson, once you give the lesson content, whether it's a video or a link or whatever it is at that point, you can put as many questions in as you want of any kind that you want, because no matter how they do on it, the only option left is to just submit the form.
Yeah. So what I did is I changed my question to a multiple choice.
Good.
And if they got it wrong, it'll take them to section 2.
Yep.
Of the video, and then I have a multiple choice grid that kind of like reviews the video just to make sure to see if they got it.
And then when they're done with that, it might automatically take them to section 3, which is where everybody went, like if they got it right.
Okay.
And what you wanted, those people who got it wrong, you gave them a little extra support. When they're done with that extra support, they go to section 3 also, which was the next piece of the lesson.
Automatically go there. I don't have to make it.
Generally speaking, it kind of depends on, let me back out of this. There we go. It kind of depends on how your form got set up. Like mine got set up in a little bit of a wiggly way. So the default is continue to next section unless you change it. Okay. And so here I had to change, this says after section 2, continue to next section, but I actually overrode that by having only the people who got it right going to section 3, which was the next section for people who were ready for the new lesson and didn't need any additional support or practice before getting the new lesson, right? And then the extra support or practice ended up getting built in as section 4 because I hadn't designed it yet. I had kind of designed, okay, you came in, you tried a thing, you showed me you know what you're doing, you're ready for the next lesson. So section 2 was showing me you know what you're doing. Section 3 is the next lesson. Okay. But for the people who had troubles, they had to go to section 4 to get some extra support. So if I go down to my section 4, notice what happens here. I have this multiple choice question as the last one. Yeah. And sorry, not that one, this one. I have my multiple choice question as the last one. And if they get it right, where are they going? Back to section 3, which is my ultimate goal for everybody. I want everybody to do that new lesson. I just know that some students need more time and more support before they can.
So for example, if mine goes to a multiple choice question, so a multiple choice grid question, and they do it, how do I tell it, okay, you're done with this section if you got it all right? Or
so if you do them, like this is actually a multiple choice grid, this fruit and vegetable, it just only has 2 columns. You can't have that go anywhere other than if it's the last question in a section, the only place it can go is either to the very next section, if there is a next section, or submit form, where they get a submit button at the bottom and they just turn it in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because
but if I have another section,
yeah,
then they can go to that section. Okay.
Yeah, if it's a multiple choice question, you have a lot more options with where they can go.
Got it. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead and continue playing with it. And if you get stuck, you can always email me, because it is kind of a matter of understanding how, you might remember how I said earlier, you could see it being a tree diagram. Everybody starts here. Then based on how they answer one question, some go here and some go here. There's a path for the people who go here. And for the people, let's say it's the correct answer. For the people who go to the correct answer, their path is short. They answered the first question. They go to the lesson. They answer questions based on that. They submit the form. The people on this side have a path that says they answered the first question. They got it wrong. They try some support. They answer that question. Maybe they go over here now. Unless they got it wrong, then they keep going down the tree.
Got it.
And then they go over here and they do the next lesson. Oh, and they submit the form. Okay. And the cool thing is they don't know, especially because they're all at home right now, not in class with you, they don't necessarily know that they got a different experience in the form than the others did until they talk to each other, right? Which of course happens. But whereas in class, this would be actually a lot harder to do, because you would need to somehow build in time, right? Yeah. For the people who did it correctly, you would need to build in time for the others to catch up. One recommendation I have for that, by the way, is at the end of your form in your settings, you can send everybody, let me go to presentation. You can change this confirmation message from the default, which is your response has been recorded, to anything you want. And you can actually put a link in there and it should move into a hyperlink. So when people finish the lesson, you can direct them to a link that goes to some enrichment concept, goes further, provides a news story about the concept, or, you know, gives them a place to go to continue exploring the topic and getting more comfortable with it. Or you could send them to an online formative assessment tool, or a video in Edpuzzle, or for language teachers in Fluent Key, you know, and so on. Okay. Any other questions from others who have come back in? You're welcome. From others who've come back in from trying this out. Okay, so we just have a couple of minutes, and I wanted you to know that on your final slide, you actually have a link to my Google Forms support document. This will be added there as well. So it, not Google, yeah, Google Forms. So this will be added there as well, so that people who are using that document, which is already available in the hub, when they're ready for it, they can actually get this support. And in this last slide, I will be linking the recording that we just made tonight, so that people can go back and review the steps, and if they need to see it in video, they can review it that way, or review a section of the video. Okay. That'll take a little while for that to post, so. All right. I want to thank all of you for coming. I would love to see the result of what happens when you try this out, you know, with your learners. And I do obviously and surely welcome your emails if you try it out and you get stuck. I think it is helpful to imagine that tree diagram and kind of map out the starting point and then the different ways it goes for learners based on their needs. Or if you're doing a create your own adventure, maybe mapping out a diagram, I think would be really helpful for you. Okay. We were talking earlier about the slides version of it. In the hub on the training, on the technology training and support page, you do have a support document for Google Slides that actually does have a link to the presentation that had some more advanced features of Google Slides, including how to link to slides within the slide deck in case you forgot that. Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
See ya.
Bye.